All right, yay! This is Jazz Vocals 101 with the incomparable Wendy Jones. And so, Wendy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And I'm going to have all of these people talk a little bit about themselves.
A little bit about myself.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know Wendy from Nats and also from a group called the Speakeasy Cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
In her website, heard her sing. And one time when I had laryngitis, you popped in for a coaching I was doing.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
I was really deathly ill. And so she was there and she helped coach because I could barely say a word.
Yeah, back when we had tons of time and didn't have to plan every class online.
Online, yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, I guess in a nutshell, I did my undergraduate and graduate work in classical music, and then there weren't really classical jobs. I started working in music theater, and I did that professionally for about 20 years. And then your feet and your body stops, mine did anyway, stopped being able to do that and dance as much. I worked on cruise ships. I worked for Tokyo Disney, blah, blah, blah. And then I was always interested in jazz, and I wanted to study jazz, and I wanted to be on stage and be a jazz singer because it sounded really cool and looked really cool. And I started doing that, and the first gig I had I was not a complete, from a musician standpoint, it was a disaster. From the audience standpoint, they probably didn't know anything, but that's when I realized jazz was more complicated art form than I thought it was. And so I really started studying it, and I spent the last 10 years studying it. Yeah, that's it. So now I don't do theater as much anymore, but I mostly gig, although I have no gigs now. All March and April gigs were canceled. So, I'm just singing at home. And that's me right now. I teach at home too. So
do you teach classical and like jazz and music theater, kind of all of that, or?
Yeah, my private students, I have some jazz students, I have one classical and a lot of music theater. And then I teach part-time at Brevard College, the jazz and classical. And then at Western Carolina, I'm contemporary commercial music. So I teach pop, rock, jazz, and they have to study all the genres. So they have a kind of a nice package, and then they're ready to go out and fly on their own, and they hopefully can sing whatever style the world is going to require of them.
That's really awesome that you're asked to learn all of them.
Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm trying to, the first 2 years is to cover different like country, pop, jazz, all those different things. And then their last 2 years, let them kind of find their own voice, and then we'll develop. So if somebody's more of a country singer at that point, we'll go that way. But we're just trying to give them well-rounded, just like you would do in general, just because it's contemporary music. It's, we don't just study Bach or just study Mozart. We do them all, and then by the time you hit your senior year, you've kind of found your Fach, and you know what you're doing. I was more of a Handel Mozart person and an art song singer, so that's what I did. I didn't do Verdi or something like that, but yeah.
Yep. All right, so one at a time. I'll unmute you, and I want you to give Wendy or give all of us just a little overview, like the 30 seconds of who I am and like the question I have for you. Right? That's fine. You could talk a little bit about your jazz experience, but basically you sung with me on different showcases that we've done, or you sung jazz maybe even a little more than that, and questions that you have for Wendy. So I'm going to start with Jasmine.
Hi. I have sung with Eden for like a year and a half. I did her 80s showcase. That was fun. And I don't have too much experience with jazz, but I want to get into it more because I think it's really cool and it sounds really pretty. So, yeah.
All right. How about Eric?
Oh, I first turned to Eden, was it 2 years ago, come this June?
Yeah.
When the chorus that I sing with had a musical salute to World War I, and I sought out Eden's help because there was a non-jazz piece. The lads in their hundreds. So I wanted to do the best that I could coming out of the group and standing in front of the microphone by myself for the first time. And for the first time, as I look around, longer than some of you have been alive. Anyway, so You know, it's been a wonderful experience, and jazz came to my attention because the son of one of the women that I go to church with, Manny Morales. I stopped at the pump house and watched Manny Morales with his blazing trumpet play some jazz with the rest of his group. And wow, I was just sucked in. It was amazing. So that's what attracted me to jazz. And I don't have any questions. I'm a listener. And if something comes up and I do pop a question in my head, I'll be sure to ask.
All right, thanks. How about Kathy Andriozzi?
Okay, so let's see. Been with Eden for several years now. I always thought of myself as a frustrated lounge singer, kind of a gutter singer, and Eden's helping me find my way up the elevator, so to speak. Always been attracted to jazz. I don't know, the slinky, sultry kind of, I don't know. There's something about it. And I'd like to find my way more in it. I identify with it. I don't know. I can't find my voice today. So I haven't been talking to many people. So it's the first time I'm hearing my voice in a while. So.
And she just got sound equipment for her house.
Yes, I can't wait to use it.
Yeah, that's an excellent purchase. So thank you, Kathy. How about Kaylin?
Hello. So I've been with Eden for less than a year. I don't actually know how long, but not quite a year. And so I originally did all of my singing in choirs, doing classical music with a little bit of musical theater. And when I came to Eden, I was thinking I would do mostly musical theater, but then somehow we ended up on jazz, and I just love the freedom of it. And I love the music. I like that I can put my own interpretation on it, and that I can kind of mess with it a little bit, and that's really fun. And help finding like the best ways to mess with songs would be awesome to like learn about, but I'm here to listen and enjoy, and I'm excited.
Great. Thank you. How about Karen Besson?
Oh, hi. Well, I grew up in jazz, and Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, and the thing I love about Eden is she's just thrown me right up against the mic and said, do it. And I've sang so much in the last couple of years I've been with her. And now I'm working on, my question is, I'm trying to work on, you know, like bebop, flourishes, scat. And what I try to do is I listen to the saxophone solo or the clarinet solo, and then I just keep playing that, and I try to mimic that as my scat. Is there a different way to do that? Because my son is a music major, just graduated with a music education degree, and he tells me that all the good jazz singers knew the chord progressions of exactly where they would go, and I just sight read music. I don't play anything musically. I play the banjo, but chords. So is there a way other than that, and am I on the right track?
Very good. Thanks. All right. How about Dan?
Hi. I've been with Eden for, oh God, I can't get my head back on. Hang on.
Right.
There we go. I've been with Eden for a little under a year. I really enjoy performing, and I took this on later in life. My love of jazz probably goes way back to my childhood. My parents are very much into music. They actually brought me to see Lena Horne probably in the early 70s. She'd come through town, and I probably saw her a half a dozen times in Rhode Island. My parents started going to the Celebrity Club probably in the 50s when they were dating, and saw people like Louis Armstrong and everybody who did that circuit from Washington, D.C. to Portland, Maine, and back down. There was a New England swing for artists in the 50s and 60s. And that really bit the bug. I probably didn't listen to a lot of jazz as a teenager and when I was in college, but when I got out of college, I published a weekly arts and entertainment newspaper. We had a jazz column that was written by Tish Adams. And so that got me back into listening to jazz. And probably the highlight of my last year, besides the showcase, was doing the master class with Tish, because it's really fun to see where she's gone in the last 25 years. And I think she was pretty amazed that I actually even thought of singing, because back then I definitely didn't sing. So that's pretty much it. I'm here to observe and have a good time.
All right, thanks. All right, how about Sarah Curtis? Let's see, I'm gonna unmute you. One more time. Here, gotcha.
So my apologies for flying in here from work, but anyway, let's see, I've been with Eden on and off for a few years now. I can't tell exactly how many years at this point. As far as jazz is concerned, it just sort of percolated in. I'm not quite sure when it all started. But it's just, there's always been a little bit of it there, and a little more and a little more. And I just love the idea of improvising with other people. My challenge is that I'm classically trained, so that those two things don't always go together. So I'm just looking to figure out how to find that freedom and be able to connect it with what the other people in an ensemble are doing. And so that's what brings me here.
All right, good, thank you. All right, Charlotte.
Hi, I have also been with Eden on and off for a long time, probably 3 or 4 years. And we've pretty much done jazz the whole time with a couple other things mixed in. I'm currently not doing a lot of music and trying to find ways to keep up with it in life, just being a student and not having a lot of access to it where I go to school. But I like coming home in the summers and being able to work with Eden on new things. And jazz has always been my favorite genre. So that's pretty much all for me. And I'm also here to listen.
All right, so everybody I left out? I got you all. I'm in the same boat too, Wendy. I mean, I started as a classical person, and the only jazz I knew was kind of big band jazz. And that was really fun. But I had no idea what scat was about or anything, except for a little bit of Al Jarreau here and there. So, but there's always more to learn. And I'm also trying to become a better player always, to accompany these fine folks. And to be able to do this too at the same time is my goal in life. So that's me. And I have plans for all of you. You know this. Ideas and plans for all of you. Pandemic or no pandemic. Nothing stops the jazz. All right. Okay. So we're just going, oh my God, what is she talking about? All right. So now Wendy has a little something she's going to do with us. I don't know. But I turned over to you. Can you hear us? Or can we hear you? Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep that quiet, while everybody talked. So it really does sound like there's a wide variety of experiences and just a wide variety of experiences in here. And so when I was talking to Eden, not knowing what everyone's experiences was, we thought, I thought I'm going to start a little bit at the beginning in case there's someone like Jasmine who doesn't know a whole lot and wants to know more, and we'll see how far we can get. But it's always a good thank you. This is my better half. He just picked up
your cocktail. Ah!
Thank you. I'll eat dinner after. So okay, so now cheers, jazz and cocktails. Oh. Okay, so first, I was trying to take notes madly, and Eric was mentioning the, I think it was Eric, the trumpets and the burning, and Kathy was talking about the loungy kind of slinky, sultry part of it, and Kaylin as well as others about the freedom. And I think that does pretty much kind of sum up jazz. I think what people like about it, it's my hunch, and teaching it and doing it myself, is that it's that swing feel. It's that when things swing, it just feels good. And I'll try to make sure that we get to that today too. And that slinky, sultry thing, I think that's what also kind of got me excited about it. And it turns out that I think that that really would be defined as the intimacy of jazz. Jazz is very intimate. If you're singing a solo, you do have the freedom to make it what you want and communicate. And I think when the audience feels like you are singing to them only, that's the real special part of it. To me, that's what makes it sexy and sultry. And yeah, very intimate and swinging, and it's very vulnerable. I found that coming from a classical background, you know, I was used to everything being in the box. Everything needed to be, you know, those are the notes on the page, and that's the rhythm on the page. And with jazz, that all goes out the window right away. So typically what we start with, well, there's, you know, it's not just scatting. There are plenty of wonderful singers that have made their way in the world without ever scatting. And you can even go back and listen to a lot of Sarah Vaughan CDs and Ella's, and they don't scat on everything. So scatting does not a jazz singer make, but rhythm and delivery is what makes the jazz singer. So, I know this chat thing is over here too. Maybe I could look at the questions later so I don't get off track. Okay, so that's what I'll plan to do. I'll just try to barrel on through this. And I think I have the ability to share my screen. Do I not, Eden? I think, yeah. Yeah, okay. So, of course, I started up my computer again, and now I have to go back to my Google Drive. So, all right. Yeah, I like kind of tried to prepare something pretty to look at. Oh, it says I'm the co-host now. That's really exciting. As soon as Google Drive comes up.
I think that'll let you do the screen. So
okay.
If not, I'll make you total host. So
I'm learning a lot about Zoom this week. I mean, I had been using it before, but really learning a lot about it. So
have your students been singing on Zoom? Yep.
Yes. Oh, 27 a week.
Wow.
But the college, some of them are sending me videos, and then I'm giving them like Nat style feedback, which I think is a nice, you know, they sing some online and then some I do videos. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so let's just, is it okay with everyone if we kind of start at the very beginning and move forward? Is that okay? Just in case there's something you didn't know. Maybe I'll teach you something you didn't know. Otherwise, it's always good to review. Now I have to share my screen. Oh, there's multiple screens. My God. Okay, and am I sharing screen yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Here we go.
You all set? You all good? Thumbs up if you see the screen.
It's loading. Y'all see it? Great.
Okay, good.
So yes, this is like my primer for getting the swing of it, okay? And it's just how to give yourself an authentic voice in jazz. And there's Miss Ella Fitzgerald there. We love her. How do I move this? There we go. So these are the basics that you have to kind of keep in mind when you're trying to do jazz. I mean, or some of the history. This is the most basic, right? It developed in New Orleans in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And what's interesting about it is, you know, down in New Orleans at that time, everybody was down there. Sometimes musicians would play together. They didn't even speak the same language, but they were speaking the musical language of jazz. Jazz has to be thought of as another language, and you have to learn that language. It's not just tricks, you know, it's not musical tricks. It's a real language. So you had, you know, people that were trained in the European traditions using those European forms, and people from the Caribbean and Africa coming over and bringing these rhythms. And so that's what's the, you know, kind of the basis of jazz. Jazz is characterized by the use of swing feel, which we'll talk a little bit about here in a second, and syncopation, and polyrhythms and improvisation. And I think those are the things that you guys mentioned that really make it exciting, because of all those things come in. It's just, you never know what's going to happen next. Yay. It does have its roots in blues and ragtime. So you should listen to some blues and some ragtimes. There's some wonderful old blues, real old, you know, 1920s blues and stuff that you can listen to. Although beware, those blues are dirty. I mean, I was listening to some for a class I was taking, and I was like, wow, these are kind of raunchy, you know, just so we won't go into that here, but just get your parents' permission before you listen to something. I like this quote, Herbie Hancock, one of my favorite jazz musicians, and he's saying here, the cool thing is that jazz is really a wonderful example of the great characteristics of Buddhism and great characteristics of the human spirit. Because in jazz, we share, we listen to each other, and we respect each other. And we are creating in the moment. At our best, we're non-judgmental. Yeah, you just take it. If you've had any acting improv class, like there's no denial, you kind of go with it. It's
Yes,
really
ma'am.
wonderful.
Right.
It's a wonderful thing. So do you have what it takes? Of course you do. But here's the answers. Joe Williams, Sarah Vaughan, Anita O'Day. If you haven't listened to Anita O'Day, she's my latest thing. So for the jazz sound and everything, it's really all about the style. These are the things when I work with students, these are the things that really make all the difference, and sometimes the things that are the hardest for them to change. First off, your head voice is not required. You do not need to sing with a beautiful round tone and tall vowels, not at all, okay? So jazz singing is really extension of the speaking voice. And you need to transpose the tunes to make your voice sound more speech-like. In almost every case, if you don't buy scores that are already transposed, they're going to be in what we call the male singer key, or the TBB. I don't know what's politically correct at this point, but like a male voice, it's going to be in his key, which is going to be too high for a female voice because she's going to have to access her head voice, and that's right there is going to keep you from getting that intimacy. So you're going to transpose things to avoid getting in your head voice too much. Also, legato. People tend to sing very smoothly and try to connect all the phrases, and that's something you don't want to do. Legato, schmagato. We don't need that. Save it for Bellini. And then vibrato. We don't use that so much in jazz, and that's a hard thing for me as a classically trained person. I spent years trying to learn how to have this vibrant, free, voice, and then when I started doing jazz, it was like, you got to take that out. I'm like, what? No. I really, and at first I didn't like the sound of it either, and because my ear was so trained to the classical, and I resisted it, kicking and screaming. But the idea is that you sound more like a horn player, and so vibrato you should think about as a tool in your coloring book. It's not something you're not gonna color the whole picture with that. You're just gonna pull it out from here, now and again. And if you go back, and I recommend you do this, you go back and find some of your favorite jazz recordings and listen to what they're doing. Yes, Sarah Vaughan accesses her head voice. She does head voice. I don't know, every studio calls it something different, but I still call it head voice, and some kind of form of mix, and then chest voice. All of that stuff is utilized in her singing, but it's not required, because I can play you examples of people, who really didn't have much of a voice at all. Billie Holiday, she could sing like 8 notes, didn't stop her. You don't have to be a good singer to be a jazz vocalist. You have to be a good stylist. And so when you go back and listen to these tunes that you love, and listen to how their registration changes. Listen to how Frank Sinatra or Joe Williams or Ella Fitzgerald use vibrato, and when they hold out a phrase, when they cut off a phrase, and start listening like that. And that's going to inform your singing more, because we tend to listen and go, oh man, that feels real good. I like it. Yeah. But what you really want to do is start now breaking it down and listening in those ways. And my insider tip, the best jazz vocalists paint with all the colors of the voice, all the colors of the wind. So you don't need to stay in one kind of, you can be breathy, you can be bright one second, warm, brassy. Sarah Vaughan was one of the best, who did the best at that. She changed everything all the time. It's just crazy. And somebody who does that now, who I really like a lot, is Cecile McLaurin-Salvant. She's beautiful, and she doesn't scat on anything. I know she can, because I've heard her, but she doesn't on any of her recordings. She just uses so many colors and pushes her voice to every extreme, and that's what's intriguing. It's so free and raw. We love that. Okay, so that's about the style. So those are the most important things to keep in mind when it comes to style. Now here's a couple more style tips. Rhythm. Rhythm is so important. The text delivery really should be conversational in nature. We have a tendency to hold things out, like I mentioned before. We want to, from the very get-go, alter the rhythms by taking liberties with the rhythm of the text. And I'll show you that in just a little bit. But that is kind of traditionally what we do if we're looking at a jazz standard. We're going to stick to the melody the first time through as a general rule. We're going to stick to the melody. But from the get-go, we're going to start changing the rhythms up because that's a form of improvisation. That counts. That counts. And it's got to swing. Okay. Now, this might be a very good time for me to talk a little bit about swing feel. It's something that can take some time to learn to develop. But you see it sometimes notated on the top of music. You see a triplet, a quarter note triplet to a eighth note, right? Perhaps. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Eden probably knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'll say, swing feel or jazz swing, gospel swing.
Something like that. And so what happens with the swing feel in a jazz piece is people tend to think it's da 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 da, which it's not. It's two triplets tied to another triplet. The emphasis being on the let. So let me show you what that means. If you say triplet, 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 you do that over and again. Now, if I tie the two together, triplet, 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 the emphasis is on the let. That's what you love about jazz. That's the feel that you like. So when you hear triplet, 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 do da 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 do da, that emphasizing that is what makes it swing. That gives it swing feel. That's what's kind of tricky because people think it's just 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2. It's do da do da do da do da do da do da do la do la do la do la do la, and it's boo da da da. It's emphasizing that let of the triplet feel. Okay. Woo! Mind blown yet? No. Maybe you'll figure it out. You know what? Eden's mind's not blown, and she'll talk to you about it.
I'm blown.
No, but I have an example of that too that we can list through. So the feel is to just try to feel that.
I was just saying, my baby just cares for me. That's the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way I teach swing feel is I have people listen to Count Basie. Because they swing like nobody's business. A slow, and you'll hear it. And I have an example of that. But and I'll ask. I'm just going to go over this, and then we can ask questions because I think that's probably the best way to do it. And as Duke said, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Yay! Okay. So fun fact: did you know that making changes to the rhythm as well as the melody are both ways to improvise? Okay, it doesn't have to be scatting to be improvisation. No, it does not. So you're asking yourself, wow, those are amazing, but how do I put into practice all that good, juicy info? Well, I'm so very glad you asked. First, here's the first thing, y'all. You cannot sing what you can't hear in your ear, okay? So you've got to listen to jazz to be able to sing jazz. So get those earbuds on, get those headphones on, and start listening, okay? And some of you already have listened to jazz, so that's good. Get out and start listening again, but listen more deeply. Listen to, if you can hear the do-da-do-da-do-da, that swing feel. Listen to how they're phrasing. Listen to how they're using vibrato. Listen to how they, if they hold out phrases or not. Listen deeply like that, because I tell all my students that how can I ask you to sing a beautiful aria if you have no idea what head voice sounds like? You must listen to opera. I can't, I don't listen to gospel music. I know what it's supposed to sound like, but I haven't listened to it enough to be able to recreate it in my own voice. So you really do have to listen to it a lot. I'm not sure this quote is 100%. Miles Davis, maybe he said this. I think you imitate, then you emulate, and then you create, and or something like that. Sounds good. I'll take it if he didn't take it. So he's dead, so I'll take it. No, I'm just kidding. But those are the kind of the 3 stages of learning. You imitate people very closely, and then you try to emulate them. You do your, maybe a song that, maybe if Ella Fitzgerald let's say, is somebody that you're imitating, then maybe you go into another song and you're using some of the things you've heard from Ella, but not in a song that she sung. No, you're emulating. And then finally, you'll fall into your own sound, and the people that have influenced you will kind of come out in your own sound. But that takes some time. These are some jazz vocalists of note, past and present, that I think have really lended a lot to the genre. Cyrille Meyer, she's new and very wonderful. Louis Armstrong, right? Chet Baker, trumpet player too. So he's got really good scatty bebop lines. It's really nice. Dee Dee Bridgewater, she's one of my all-time favorites. She incorporates a lot of gospel and R&B influence into her jazz. Her scatting is less bebop oriented and much more kind of rhythmic focused, which is really cool. Betty Carter, great scatter. Harry Connick Jr., more of a crooner, right? But wonderful. Anita O'Day, she can scat with the best of them. Kurt Elling, Ella Fitzgerald, John Hendricks, and you can see Abby Lincoln. She's one that maybe didn't, by some standards, have the best voice. But she can sell a song. Bobby McFerrin was his own breed of brilliant genius. Darman Meter is somebody that I've worked with the New York Voices with improvisation, and he's played saxophone, and it's wonderful. Had to include him. And Diane Reeves, Cecile McLaurin Salvant, as I mentioned, if you're going to give her a listen. Sometimes her music kind of crosses between like this fusion of classical, she's classically trained, classical meets jazz, and it's wonderful. I love it. Nina Simone, Frank Sinatra, Esperanza Spalding, Mel Torme, wonderful scatter as well, very rhythmic. He played drums as well, so he had some good rhythmic feels. Sarah Vaughan, who was classically trained, played piano. Dinah Washington, Joe Williams, Nancy Wilson. There's so many to list, but those are some of the ones that inspire me or have inspired me. So I thought maybe we could work through this a little bit, and I'm just going to show you if I can. I wonder if, let's see, I want to send something, and now I need to make this smaller, I think. So I want to show, how do I make this? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this for just a second, okay? Because I want everybody to kind of have something to look at here. So I can put this PDF in the chat thing, correct? Yes, I think I can. And then everybody could take I think everybody can take a look at this. La, 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 la.
Everybody see where the chat is for your thing, so you can pull out a PDF there?
Well, and I could probably just share this on my screen just as easily.
Okay.
So if somebody wants it, I copied it out of a book. I guess it's okay because it's an educational thing.
It's educational, sure.
Educational. I'm not trying to get money off of it or anything like that. So I'm going to share the screen again, and I think.
Yeah, there we can hear you do it, unless you want us to do it.
Well, I want you to see what I'm talking about because for some reason it's not letting me share. Let me try this. Can I share my, okay, there we go. Let me share. I just want you to be able to see it because I think it'll make more sense.
Okay.
If you can see it.
All right.
So here's a jazz standard, right? Okay. Now this happens to be in what we call the chick singer key. This is, I got it from the book. But typically I think it's in a key of C or something like that. I think it's normally in the key of C, not G. Okay. So
yeah. I forgot. Right, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So now, as written in the key it's written in, let's say I'm looking at this song and I try to take it in the original key and the original rhythms, okay? I hope you can still hear me over here. Can you hear me?
Can you hear okay? Thumbs up?
Thumbs up. Okay, great. So if I just took it out of the book in the original key, which is not this key, it would do something like this. My romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. My romance. Okay, that's pretty. That's pretty. It sounds like an old movie musical, but it sounds a little bit more like a Rodgers and Hart piece from a musical than a jazz piece. So a male voice might want to start in the key of C and then move that around a little bit. As a general rule, women need to take the traditional key and take it down a fourth or a fifth to start with, because that's almost always where you're going to be. Not always, but almost always. So as you can see, this one has been taken down to G. And it just so happens that that's the key that I do it in, so I didn't have to write a chart on it. Okay, so now I'm going to try to sing it as it's written, but in the new key. Okay, so now first thing we do is we kind of find the different key. And some keys I do have to go through. Like if I find one I think works, I might take it down a half step and then another half step and just go, ooh, which one really feels like I can, you know, showcase a lot of different vocal qualities. A tendency is for people to keep it too high, or people that don't want to, they're worried about their voice flipping. It doesn't matter, it's jazz, let it flip. We don't care, it's honest. They tend to keep it too low and keep everything below the staff. You want to be able to explore both of those. So for this one actually works for me. If you look at it, it's going to get me to a B, which is really, you know, kind of a floaty head place. Remember, head voice is not required, but you can use it. It's not off limits. So if I look at that now in a new key, so if I say, I'm going to try to sing the rhythms as they're written. I'm looking at two things here. My romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. My romance doesn't need a blue lagoon standing by. Oh, that's hard to sing twisted. So I think I'd go, yeah, that feels like a better key. That still doesn't really sound like jazz, right? No, it doesn't. So now the idea is I need to do it more like I would speak it, okay? So I'm not going to hold out all those notes. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go, okay, let's see if I can not hold out those dotted half notes. Don't need to, okay? And see if that improves it a little bit more, right? So that'll be my next thing. I'm going to play around with that. So my romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. My romance doesn't need a blue lagoon standing by. So now I'm kind of whisper singing, but you see what I did with the rhythm there. This is why I wanted you to see it, so you could see how I'm changing the rhythm. Did y'all see that? Yes. My romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky, right? So that's great. So now already you're starting jazzier, and I'm singing really breathy. And because I'm going to be like, my romance doesn't have, use a microphone. You can whisper into the microphone, it'll sound awesome. Low notes, yeah, generally low G's and F sharps, not in my fa, but it's jazz. I mean, I can whisper into the microphone and pull it real close and it'll sound fine, maybe even great. But then you can start with the improvisation. You can start doing something, how would you say the sentence? So how would you actually say, my romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. Okay, because I just sang it, my romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. But that's not how I would say it. My romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. So, how might I squish that all together and make it seem more like one phrase, right? So I could do that by backphrasing. And if you don't know what backphrasing is, it's just delaying the start of the musical line or the sentence or the verse, however you want to think about it. So I could do, I'm going to see if I like to play around with it. One of the games I play with myself until I find the way that I want to do it for now, and then it can change over time, is I try to experiment with how late I can delay it. So I'm going to start after the G major chord. I'm going to sing, my romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. Okay, I wonder if I can delay it 2 beats. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. If I go, Oh, actually, that was later. That was 3 beats. Ooh, love that. So let's see. My romance. Oh, I'm messing this up. I'm going to delay it 3. My romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. If I can do. My romance doesn't need a blue lagoon standing by. Depends on what you're trying to say. So you can play around.
What a great game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun game. And I like to do it with my iReal book because then it's clicking and I'm not trying to play chords and come in late at the same time. It allows me to focus on the rhythm. But then, you know, you can really have some fun. So if I have no month of May, see, I squish those all together. C major chord, F7. No twinkling stars. What is that chord? No hideaway. E minor, A7. No soft guitars. See, so you can really let chords go by. I think that's one of the things that people are afraid to do is let it breathe. You got to let it breathe. And then you can make the lyric your own. That's what you hear people doing in a ballad. You know, that's what you're hearing them do. My romance. Oh, yeah, maybe that. My romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. My romance. Then it becomes about like, who are you talking to? What kind of vibe? Are you flirtatious there? Are you holding back because you can't find the words, or are you holding back because you're teasing them a little bit? Man, it's all good. Then it becomes your own. And that is improvisation. Taking the rhythmic liberties. That's improvisation. And so that's a really fun game to play. All right. You can also do slide offs, things like that. You don't have to hold things. Hopefully I wasn't holding them too much. And you leave a little space. Yes, Miss Eden.
What's the slide off?
Oh, kind of like just sliding off the my romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. That's not it. My romance. If you'll listen, you know, sometimes you'll hold the phrase with no vibrato and then add the vibrato, or other times you might slide off. I have a tendency to slide off on the high notes. You know why? Fantastic dreams come true. Why? Because I have a tendency with my classical training, if I'm singing a soft song, I tend to get a little classical right around B and C. I don't want to belt this piece because I don't think that's appropriate. I can make my most fantastic dreams. Maybe, you know, it's kind of a big band thing, but so in this intimate setting, fantastic dreams, I'm going to either have to have vibrato there or come off of it because I'm going to get into a head voicey place there. That's just my voice. I know
And you don't want it to hold on for forever because then it'll feel classical instantly. It'll be too legato, legato.
Right. Then I can make my most fantastic dreams come true. And that's, you know, we're getting into somewhere between Doris Day and classical music. So I love Doris Day too. Just watched a movie with her yesterday. So that's one of the things that, you know, one of the things you want to do. Does that make sense? Yeah. So just taking the time to kind of look through that. And that is something that's people overlook. And that's where you really should start, is trying to see how are you phrasing these tunes of yours. And the same thing goes for a swing tune as well. It's hard to keep up with this. Eve, Eden, Eve, Elisha, whatever your name is. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's all right. No, it's okay. You're doing great.
Yeah. So that's what you. I think that's what you really. That's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
In focus. I'm trying to find all these buttons on my. So.
Are there questions so far? You can unmute yourself, or I can unmute you if you have a question right now. I find it really interesting that we're starting with, you know, or you can raise your hand and I can unmute you if you need that. Okay, Karen, I'm coming for you.
Starting early on instead of delaying. How about starting early, like kind of
Yeah.
like Bossa does?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say in the bossa nova, and that's again, I always have people start with just about always look at the ballads are hard to phrase. Everybody wants to sing a ballad, but ballads are hard, and swing tunes. That's where we start, and then I kind of move into bossa nova. But yes, it's traditional for the bossa nova to kind of be front phrased a little bit more, and that can be a lot of fun too. The thing you have to remember is if you're working with a band, you have to make sure that they know that you know where you are, because the joke about jazz singers is, how do you know a jazz singer is at the door? She doesn't have the key and she doesn't know when to come in. And that's what I told my students. I was like, you will never be that person. You will know your key and you will know when to come in, because you have to know how to be on the bandstand and go up and say, this is my song, I'm doing it in this key, here's my tempo, and or this is my feel. It's like a swing tune or medium swing, or it's bossa nova. You will know, you must know. But you kind of work all this stuff out at home and then you go to the bandstand. But because singers have that reputation, if you start front phrasing or back phrasing a lot, the band automatically tries to find you. So you, because they just figure that the singer is lost, because so often they are. Because if they are, and then what happens is then we don't, and this is one of the things that's been a passion of mine. There's no reason that the vocalist, and I don't call them singers, I call them vocalists, because you are a musician. Your instrument is here. And you should know everything about the form and everything about the harmony as the instrumentalists do. And until you do know that, no one on the bandstand is going to take you seriously. But I've worked with a lot of people now, and even people that I don't know. I've sung enough that they know, oh, she's gonna, they'll play. They'll just keep playing. They know I might backphrase a whole bar. But you definitely want to make sure that you've established your reputation and they know that you're going to be able to that you know what you're doing and you're not getting lost. But yes, Karen, you said you already had some jazz and you were listening to bebop and all that stuff. So for sure, that front phrasing, you can listen to Astrud Gilberto with Stan Getz. That's beautiful.
And it's fun on iRealPro because you can make everything a bossa.
Oh, I know.
Pro,
for
and
sure.
It makes it a lot more freeing, and it gets you out of that feeling where you have to, like you said, keep everything exactly the way it should. So
I use my iReal book a lot, and that's kind of because I can put that on and you can program it to play 5 choruses if you want, and you can sing the thing through 5 times.
You understand what she's talking about with the iReal? I know we've done this with some of you.
It's iReal book. Oh, I hit my
an app.
I have iRealPro. Is that the same thing?
I think so, and it has all the chords on there.
Yeah, it's great.
And you can also play it, and you can set how many times you want to play it. You can change the key, which is what I did so quickly before. And then it's a really good tool to practice, so you can just kind of focus on form and your phrasing without sitting at the piano and playing at the same time. Which
if you need a specific track, singers, just ask me. If you don't have iReal and you need a specific track, ask me and I'll export one for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how you can start to do it. So, I try to give all my students like a swing tune and a ballad to start with, just so they can learn those techniques. And and that's how we go from there. So yes, front phrasing will also work. Did somebody else have a question like right now that I needed to address? Or are you confused, or is it too much, or do we need more wine, or?
Eric, you have a question?
Wendy, yeah, can you speak a little bit more about the slide off?
Sure.
Shortly.
Sure. It's just when you don't want to hold a note, and it's just kind of like a fall off, I guess, maybe the more.
Changing the pitch?
Yeah, it kind of slides the pitch down slightly, but it's just not a super long fall. Just like,
Yeah, it's just like,
Thank you.
Instead of having a nice cutoff or something like that, you just,
instead of, it's,
Yeah.
All right, Wendy?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a follow up. And I think the more you listen to your favorite singers, you're going to hear that they've been doing this already. It's nothing you haven't heard. It's just maybe something you haven't yet observed. Of course, right now I'm like trying to think of an blue skies smiling at me. Nothing but blue skies do I see. There's a fall off. Blue days, all of them gone. There's one gone. There's just a little fall off. You don't want to do it all the time. We'll get seasick. So it's nice to vary it a little bit. A little held out here, a little fall off here, you know, whatever floats your boat, you know? Yeah, that's a very good question.
Thank you.
Yes, of course, you're welcome. And if you can ask 15 times, because if I don't explain it clearly, I don't get tired with questions at all. So one of the things, am I on the right? Are we doing what we need to do?
Mm-hmm.
Are we good so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, oh, that's wrong. This is supposed to be in my, not for me, this is my music.
Eric?
Getting some kind of,
Sorry. Eric, I can't unmute you. Can you unmute yourself?
Oh, sorry. A control freak. So the PowerPoint slideshow, you're recording everything, and PowerPoint slideshow is going to be available later on also. Thank you. You put me on mute.
So here is an, going back to that feel that we were talking about a little bit, I want to see if you can start to feel. And one of the things I do with my students, and I did with me too, is to try to feel that swing feel, okay? Because this is everything, right? So if you listen, we're just going to listen to a little second of this, and then we'll go back and try to pinpoint what we're listening for. This is a great tune by Count Basie called Splanky. The big band plays it a lot. Hopefully you can hear it. Count Basie on the piano. Count. Great. Okay. So that's swinging like crazy. Can you, yeah, so you might like, maybe you don't know why it's swinging. So if you go back, I try to have all my students, and I do this for myself too. This is how I kind of taught myself the swing feel. I would immediately start snapping on 2 and 4 as soon as you can feel it. So you want to find the offbeats, because friends don't let friends snap on 1 and 3, right? It's 2 and 4. So. Right? So you got 2 and 4. So you got the 2 and 4 going. Y'all wouldn't be with Eden if you couldn't find the 2 and 4. That's all good. Okay, so then we go back to that swing feel. We were talking about triplet, 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 but the first tripa is tied together. So it's triplet, 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 triplet. The emphasis being on the let. Now, if you listen to this, you'll hear it. And what I have, my students do, and I do too, is I will, along with this recording, go triplet, 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 and give a little emphasis to let, okay, while they're playing. And listen to how many notes are played on the let and how many times, if it's a string of notes, that the emphasis or the accent is on the let. That's a swing feel. That's what you have to be able to do. So what you're going to do is you're going to say triplet, 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 and you're going to listen to how many notes fall on the let or are emphasized. That's what makes it swing. We'll let him get in first. Here we go. Triplet, 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 triplet. So do you hear that? Basie's playing on the let, almost, he's comping on the let. But if you listen, Basie plays on the let. He's playing on the triplet. Listen, triplet. That's ba-do, 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 ba. He's not going do ba do ba do ba do ba do ba 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 do ba ba do ba ba do ba do ba. So internalizing that feel and listening to a lot, like this is a great piece to listen to because Basie always does kind of lay it out for you just like that. And if you do that little exercise, I sat on the couch one night just trying to figure this out. And my better half, who brought me the wine, is also a drummer, and he's been doing this for like 30 years or 40, so he knows it. And he sat there and we kind of did this exercise, and when I finally started feeling it, I said, that's what it is. When you can feel that, when you feel that bass line going boom, 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 bum, 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 ba-doo, da-doo, 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 oh, it's like, that is a drug and it's free. It's like the best. It's such a great feeling. So that's what you're trying to get into. So that's that swing feel. Yeah, so when you're swinging, you want to, or if you're singing like an up-tempo tune, you want to try to get some of that swing feel in there. And it doesn't come overnight. You do have to listen to it. Again, you can't sing what you can't hear, so you do have to listen to it, and you have to practice that. Yeah, so there's that. So that's how it might go for a, you know, like a swing tune, if you will. So I think, I'm just going to show this last little thing. So we have before questions or some other improv kind of things. So the most important thing is your coda here is just listen, listen, and listen to great singers and imitate them, then emulate, and then create. And oh, I lost my webcam. That's pretty. That's my headshot. That's nice. Anyway, you'll create your own sound after that. I think it was Jamie Ebersol, who's a jazz master educator, and he always says, I did some of his workshops, and he said, listen, listen, listen. And when you're done listening, listen some more. Like I said, my better half, Rick, he'll listen to something 15 times, like every day for weeks, because he's always picking something else out. So it's that you have to develop those ears. You want to focus on rhythm, because rhythms are improvised from the get-go, like we talked about in My Romance, and just have fun and experiment with front phrasing, back phrasing, etc. Be sure to find the good key that will allow you to use a more speech-like approach, and the mic will help with the low notes, so you don't have to worry none. Don't have to worry none. And start video. So that's pretty much that, like your basics. Do you think that you have, do we want to talk, do we even have the time to talk briefly about the beginnings of improvisation? Do we want to do that? Do we have questions? You must feel
all unmuted. Ask away. What would you like to ask Wendy? Who wants to improvise for her right now? Yeah, okay, I think they need an improv exercise.
Okay.
They may have a little bit of jazz prepared. I know, you know, like the most recent thing all of them have done. I mean, they could try the dance and try some back phrasing and some drops. Give it a try. Unless you have something specific. Sorry, unmute.
So one of the things I tend to do, I always start with, you know, blues improvisation, because it's just the best way to kind of start that. So, you know, we do call and response. I love it. Yeah, call and response is kind of fun, like trading eights and stuff. I have a little exercise that I do with my students first. We'll just do a blues. I taught this little pattern. So if you don't know what the blues scale is, it's just 1 flat 3. I don't do the solfege thing because like all that drives me crazy. If you take a major scale and flat the 3rd and raise the 4th, blah blah blah.
Jasmine's got to go do homework, so she says bye.
Bye.
All right. We'll see you later, Jasmine.
So you have to sing. So what I do is I created this like little vocalese just to tune your ear to it. We work on the let too. And we just come back down and we add the 7th underneath.
You can do this on your own, so that way it doesn't overwhelm the mics, but you can try it on your own.
So if you mute yourselves, you can do it. And I know it's kind of hard to do it when I'm playing because the latency, but I'll have them do the thing, sing it 3 times as an exercise, and I change the chords underneath them so they can get used to hearing how the same notes take on a different kind of color under the different chords in the blues, which are the basic blues are 1, 4, 5, 7. So do ba 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 do da. Now we do it again, and I play the 4 chord. Do ba 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 do da. Right, and I play the 5. Do ba 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 do da. You know, and that just kind of acquaints them. Right, and then we try to learn, we'll do different call and response patterns. And I have a Jamie Ebersol play along that it's a blues in B flat, and like I'll sing 2 bars and they'll sing back. And so it's a call and response. So the first exercise is kind of, and this is how we all learn, you know, your first exercise is to, like, I'm going to sing something and you are going to repeat exactly what I sang. Right? And then I'll do something else and you repeat it, and we do something else and repeat it. That's the kind of the first game we play. So I don't know if we can do this in real time. I have a track. I can try to play it.
B flat.
Okay, so I'll sing something.
1,
and you don't
2.
And you guys mute.
1, 2,
So we're in B.
3, 4.
Do 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 ba dee do da, and then they would sing. Beep ba boo doo ba, beep ba ba doo ba. Ba ba boo 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 beep boo ba. Fall off. So anyway, it goes, you know, we would play that game. I don't know if that's even you're able to do it or not with the latency, but we do that. And then we'll play a game. Then the next game is, okay, you know, we have to start our phrase on the whatever note that the other person ended on. Super fun. That's the next step that we do. Okay. And so that just gets people freed up. And listen, I do this with my classical people too, because people just need to learn to just have fun and not worry about what they're singing about. But you can practice on those blues scales and those blues patterns, and then just play back and forth with your teacher. And, you know, it doesn't matter at first. You're not working if the swing feels not right, or the note, there's no wrong notes, okay? There's some that are better, but you can't inhibit yourself. You just got to play and explore and have fun and be willing to take chances. It's not classical music. It doesn't have to be, okay? It's, you know, and it's, you know, just have fun and let yourself go. And then if you're starting to, you know, get into more advanced, improvisation, so to speak, if that's what you're wanting to do, you know, on a jazz standard. I wonder if I can find my thing for my romance again. I have so many things on my keyboard. If you're looking at my romance, for instance, if I can find that again, it'll come up. You're gonna, one of the things, because this goes back to what Miss, oh my gosh, Karen was saying. Karen was asking about, like, what's another way? Yes, transcribing solos is great. Listening to instrumentalists is perfect. But what happens is when you are trying to improvise, you're basically, as I mentioned before, you're speaking a different language. So you have to learn different words. And then the words that you learn, you put together in sentences, right? I mean, I'm improvising what I'm saying to you right now. I know my concepts, but I'm phrasing it in real time. And in jazz, you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it musically. So you know what you want to say, but you're phrasing it in real time. So in order to do that, you have to have some words at your disposal and sentences. And at first they will be simple words, like first grade words. Do, ba, dee, do, that. That's okay. That's where we all start, right? And then you, over time, learn your SAT words, and SAT sentences and concepts, which is more into the bebop realm. But so part of the way you can learn that is to transcribe solos. I transcribe a lot of solos. You can do it orally or you can write it down. But the best advice that was given to me is transcribe orally the things that really stick out to you, the parts that like you really like, because those are words or sentences that you can remember. And when you hear similar changes, you might be able to do it. But the problem is we try to jump there first without having done some of the harmonic work. So the harmonic work is the part that you have to do first, because you won't be able to come up with any ideas until you've done harmonic work. So if I go back to, I mean, I'm not gonna swing this tune, you know, I mean, I could, but you know, my romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. My romance doesn't need a blue lagoon, right? But if I wanted to improvise on it, the first thing I do with every song is you have to learn the root movement. You have to hear the root movement in your head. If you don't know where the roots are going, your scat is going to be like all over the place. So once somebody's learned a tune and they say, hey, I want to start scatting, I do lyric improv first. But if you're wanting to scat, to address the scat question, you do need to learn the harmonic movement. So you play the bass lines and you learn to sing the bass lines a cappella. So do in time. So the chord changes every half note, right? Do, 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 right? You go through and you learn every root until you can sing that like your own melody. Boom, boom, boom. Then once you've got the roots programmed into your soul, it's going to make it almost impossible to get lost on the bandstand, no matter what anybody plays, because you'll always be able to tap into that bass player. But then the next thing is you want to do something we call the guide tone exercise. So you want to start, and this is actually great. This works for lyric improv, or if you want to go into scatting, because this is the first step. So you take your first chord. So you do have to know something about theory to really do this. I mean, listening is fine, but you really, so if I look at a G major 7 chord, if you don't know those notes, it's a G, a B, a D, and an F sharp. Right. And so the third of the chord is a B, and the 7th is an F sharp. So what I do is I say, okay, after you've learned the bass notes, now we're going to go through and we're going to weave our path through the changes, and we're going to start on the 3rd. Why not? We'll pick the 3rd. And then we're going to move to the 3rd or the 7th of the next chord, no matter whatever's closest. Okay? So if we start on the 3rd of B, the 3rd of the G chord, it's a B, right? And I'm going to sing the notes. So I'm starting on a B, my romance. And then what's the next closest note? Maybe probably doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. I just went from the third of the chord to the seventh of the chord and back down. And I just made up a new melody. Ah, lyric improv. Wonderful. My romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky.
Are y'all totally confused yet? You doing okay? I know this is a lot.
Well, no, because some people asked about the that's why I thought, like, usually we do scatting later, but that's one way to do it. And then to start, you go through start on the third and go through, start on the seventh and go through.
Kind of like if you were harmonizing it, even in classical music, those harmonies lines tend to be the same, right? So it's almost like thinking of it as moving from alto maybe over to tenor and then back to soprano again, right?
Absolutely. And that can give you different, and that's another way to get ideas for different melodies. And because here's the thing, lyric improvisation, changing the melody, that's also improvisation. So I can sing, my romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. My romance doesn't need a blue lagoon standing by. See, I thought I was going to get lost, so I came back home to find my way. Then I can go off again. No month of May, no twinkling stars. That's the real melody. No hideaway, no soft guitars. So I'm just changing a note here and there, right? I've already gone through the song, you know, and I've already gone through it and done the bass line and sung on the thirds and sevenths. Those are called that's called a guide tone exercise, and you work your way through the guide tones, because when you're starting to scat, you really want to hit the thirds and the sevenths as much as you can. But here's the thing, you don't have to scat to make it sound to be jazz. It's phrasing, it's rhythm, and it's being intimate and finding the right key. If you've done that, you are singing jazz. Scat is not a requirement. And in fact, I do a lot of gigs, and a lot of places don't even want you to scat. The restaurant who's hired you to sing and they want you to sing, they want it to swing. They don't want you to scat. Nobody wants to listen to it, right? There are very few places where you can actually just do a concert and people want to hear you scat. It's a fun thing to try to work on, and it certainly improves your ear, but it is not at all required to be a jazz vocalist, not at all. So, so that's just one way to start it. I kind of thought when Eden and I were talking, we were talking about maybe talking about how to really do a song and make it authentic, and talking about phrasing and feel and all of that. And then maybe there'd be another time for more more harmonically adventurous to dig into improvisation. So, yeah. So I think I feel like that's more than I had planned to talk about, but I hope I didn't confuse anybody on the theory stuff. But jazz, if you want to improvise, it really does help to have some piano background and a little bit of knowledge of the theory. And otherwise, you don't, just work on the feel and work on the phrasing. Yeah. So,
questions?
I had a couple of things I was going to share with you. I'm going to upload them if I can in the file. So this is on my computer set. Here is, there's a gazillion jazz tunes out there, as you all well know, and this is by no means anywhere close to inclusive, but these are some tunes that everyone should know. Because if you want to go to the bandstand, these are everybody knows these. Now, female singers, treble voice singers, whatever we're calling us now, you have to realize that most of the guys are going to know them, or the players, I say guys in terms of use guys, are going to know the keys, the standard keys. So it's important that you know your key. And so that's downloaded there. And then I'm also going to give you a file that is kind of resources for practicing jazz without a jazz band. Of course, Eden, I've heard her play, and her jazz piano is really good, and I'm envious as all get out. So hopefully you can open this. Oh, it's in Pages format, so hopefully you can still open it. But this resource, I just put it in the chat, but the resources for practicing jazz without a band, Band in a Box is a program that I've got, and I've been able to make some of my own tracks with that. All you have to do is be able to read and plug in a chord on the correct beat. You can also purchase real jazz tracks, and they're not MIDI tracks and piano, bass, and drums. If you want to invest in that, that's fine. But if your teacher plays, I wouldn't bother investing in that because, you know, you got her. I mean, if she wants to practice, and like playing live is always better because it's that feed, it's that give and take. The iRealBook, you can download that, yeah, and then you can download the 1,300 jazz tunes, but they also have country tunes and swing tunes and Beatles tunes, and you can adjust the bass and drum and piano accompaniment, and you can set it to play 15 times and scat choruses over it if you want. Jamie Ebersol play-alongs, it's mostly for instrumentalists, but he has a couple for vocalists. Number 107, it's called It Had to Be You. It's mostly female singer keys. And volume 117 is Cole Porter songs, but they both come with accompaniment CDs with live musicians playing, so it does have a better swing feel. RealBook doesn't. RealBook doesn't swing. It's just, but that's okay. I'm not, I mean, when I'm trying to work on like harmony and backphrasing, it's fine. But I use, and he's got one for instrumentalists called Blues in All Keys. It's volume 42. That's the one I played the track for. And there's a blues in every key, and some are fast and some are slow. But we do the B flat track, and we improvise, and we trade eights on that. And then there's some real vocal books by Hal Leonard. Maybe you know about those. There's tons of lead sheets in them. I have like 4 or 5 of them. And they look like that there. And there's a song on almost every page. Some songs have 2 pages, but this book has 400 and, good Lord, 435 pages. So it's at least 400 songs. And yeah, it might be $35, but it's like 400 songs in there. So $5 a piece on musicnotes.com. Or that. And this is just what it looks like. My Romance. It's a lead sheet. It's got the melody, the chords, and the lyric on there. And that's all you would take to a bandstand or, you know, to a jazz jam. And you can transpose them from there. But keep in mind the low keys, the low voice. A lot of times guys will get the low one and girls get the high. And I'm just like, oh, no. The low key is for, they're the lowered keys for the female voice or the treble voice. So generally, and you might still have to transpose some of them, but the low keys are for the chick singers, and the high keys would be more of the standard male keys. And then there's other Hal Leonard publications that I listed there. They have nice online tracks as well with piano, bass, and drums. So you can get the feel of being, you don't get the feel of creating live, but it does feel more authentic than an iRealBook. So those are something there for, just for reference, if you will. Yeah, yeah. And think outside the box, you know, when you're, you know, some song that's a ballad might be fun as a swing tune, and some songs that are swing tunes might be fun as a ballad. Just make sure that it makes sense with the lyric. You know, I mean, I see people, and I'm gonna just give this one example and then we'll do questions, but Autumn Leaves, everybody likes to sing Autumn Leaves. And that's a really good song to sing. The changes are not hard to play. But if you've ever seen, oh no, I'm thinking the wrong thing, but it's a sad song, right? The autumn leaves drift by my window, it's sad. Then instrumental is like, so it's fun for them to play fast, and that's awesome. But it's, you know, if you're singing the lyric, hey, since you went away, the days grow long, that becomes kind of loungy because it becomes a joke, right? Because it's like you're not listening to what the lyric means. And people do that with Days and Wine of Roses too. If you've seen that movie, it's about 2 alcoholics, and their worlds are crashing, and one decides to leave that alcoholism behind. And the other partner says, no, I don't think so. I'm going to live this life. So when people go, the days of wine and roses. Hey, it's like more Saturday Night Live, right? So you got to think about, does that song really? But some songs really will go any way you want. You know, like Honeysuckle Rose. We normally hear that. Every honeybee fills with jealousy when they see. That's playful. If you want to do playful, do playful. But what if you want to do a little bit more, it's like called the adult tempo, a little bit more, I don't know, sultry. Every honeybee fills with jealousy when they see you out with me. I don't blame them. So you can play around and then get the feel that you want. You are never married to what's on the page, and as far as that goes. So make the song yours, right? So make the song yours, and that's it. Just changing the feel or the tempo can do a great deal for that. So there we go. I think that's plenty. Questions? Anybody want to sing?
Questions? Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Cheers. I know Karen is like dying to sing. I think she has a real book and everything. I don't know why she just doesn't sing for us.
I'm just gonna listen.
I think you should, you don't, okay, you don't have to sing. Nobody has to sing. Nobody has to sing.
I do like what you said about learning the bass line. That really opened it up.
Yeah, because it just, you don't know where you are.
That's me.
Yeah. So learn the bass line like
Go
another
everywhere.
melody.
Yeah, and come back. So that.
And then you can do thirds and sevenths. And I have other tricks for learning lyric improv. And I don't know what that is coming from. Maybe it's my microphone. Do same as system. Maybe that'll help. I don't know.
I think Charlotte should sing.
Somebody should sing. No, nobody has to sing. But
Not tonight. You don't have to sing because I made you drink.
We all want to sing,
Right.
but nobody wants to go first.
What I will do is I will say that I think it's going to be some kind of a small weekly get together where you do come and sing. And it's the express idea that you come and sing. Small group. Sorry, it's so crazy here. But I think it might be only a few people each time too. So it might be not all of us because that's a lot. So it might just be first 4 sign up and we work on like a song and I send you the song in advance and that's the one we work on and we practice these skills. So it might not even be a song that you know, it might be a new one to you. I'm just kind of, as Wendy was talking, I was just thinking what would be a great way to practice all this stuff. I know that many of you are thinking about ideas for June, whether it happens at the Pump House or it happens at my house, or if it's basically a vocal progressive dinner where each one of you comes in and sings and films with the band because we can only have 5 people in a room at a time. God knows, right? But I'm thinking about between today and that time, kind of getting you songs up and running. That's what I'm working towards, right? So, but I would love to see you practice some of these skills that Wendy has talked about. And Wendy, some of this we have done in terms of like the call and response. Some of you have done that with me. Some of you have done some blues, vocal scales during warm-ups and things like that. And you're all going to get it next time I see you in lessons. Like, totally, right? But you can also do some of this on your own. It's fun. And I love that, Wendy, you talk so much about just make it your own, especially lower the key. And Tish has talked about that with us. But also realize that even though we're not together with me playing for you, you can still do everything she's talking about. And that's, I think, should relieve you of a lot of pressure of, oh, how could I possibly ready? You will be. Jazz players have to go in and perform with people they've never met before. Right, Wendy? I'll mute you.
Getting a black leather pouch. I'm not a movie producer from the 90s.
Okay, yeah, so that's the beauty of jazz. People are always amazed when I do a gig. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, how long has your band been together?" And I was like, "Tonight." Do you know, like, I mean, I've got 3 guys I normally play with, but usually, one piano player can't come. Okay, we'll do guitar. Oh, that bass player can't come. Oh, well, I'll call somebody from over here. What you do to do jazz is you practice enough on your own so that you can have a conversation on stage with other musicians who are also practicing that much at home. It's different in classical and music theater where, you know, you got to get that ensemble, you got to get it right. And it's got to be the same every single time, you know, because people are relying on that. When I worked at Disney one time, I had to walk out and sing, I have a dream. And I got a note. Wendy, you were on 6.2. We need you on 6.5. Ooh, sorry. You know, like you got to stand exact. But in jazz, it's like, don't play it the same way every single time, you know, as long as you're kind of understanding the, you know, I hate to say there are rules, but I think you have to learn the rules before you get to break them. I think that in any kind of music. So I think you have to understand where things came from. But yes, you practice. So what I do is I learn my lyrics. I learn my melody. I practice backphrasing. I practice scatting a tune, even if I have no intention of scatting it on a gig, because maybe I'm not inspired by the way they're playing. And so I don't, I learn the bass line. I sing through the guide tones, you know, and I do it. And then I've learned everything I could possibly learn about the harmony and the melody and the rhythm. And then I listen to jazz every day. And then when I go on the bandstand, I'm ready to play with the other musicians. Because we're not singers, we're musicians, we're vocalists, and we should hold ourselves to the same standards. So we need to know the harmony and keys and all that stuff. And so here's just a little teaching thing that I have all my students do. Even I have a 13-year-old student, she was 12 last year. I've got her on video doing this. So we do the role play. I'll say, when it's time for her to practice her jazz tune, I'll pretend I'm like, hey, how are you? And I'm Wendy, what's your name? She'll say, I'm Kira. I was like, great. So what are you going to sing for me today? She'll say, Sunny Side of the Street. What key? C. What's your feel? A medium swing. What do you want for an intro? Just give me the last 8 bars. And we run through that every single time before we sing it. And I let her count me off, and then I play at whatever tempo she'll count. And she'll look at me and she'll go, that's too slow. I was like, that's what you counted. So, you know, like I make her, but she got up on the bandstand with professional musicians and she counts it out now, you know, but you have to practice all of that. You have to practice all of that. You can't just practice the song. You got to say, hey, I'm going to do My Romance as a ballad. I do it in the key of G. Just give me the last 4 bars for an intro and we'll retard it at the end or whatever. You know, you kind of got to know what you're going into there, but yeah. Yes, you can practice your jazz toss with no live musicians, learn the rules. Oh yeah, Eden just posted all that.
Yeah, I'm just putting that in their file. So we're going to bring this to a close. It's 8 o'clock. We've been here for 9 minutes. But any last questions for Wendy? Sorry, I'm the one that's loud, I think. So I know you probably have questions later on. So I'll make sure that you know how to get in touch with her. But I'm going to come at all of you now that this is over and ask you a bunch of questions about what you thought and what your feedback is. But I want to say thank you. Yeah, Eric has something. Let's get Eric unmuted. Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Nobody wants to sing?
They're all shy tonight.
I'm thinking that everybody wants to sing, but nobody wants to go first.
No.
I went first. I was nervous.
Mm-hmm. Well, Eric, you want to go first?
Pardon?
Do you want to go first?
I will go first. Something, yes.
All right.
I hope I don't disappoint Wendy, but this is something that I've never heard. You've never heard me sing this before? Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's a semicon tune. It seems to me I've heard that song before. It's from an old familiar score. I know it well, that melody. I'm a little off. It's funny how a theme recalls a favorite dream, a dream that brought you so close to me. I know each word because I've heard that song before. The lyrics said forevermore. Forevermore's just a memory. Please have them play it again, and I'll remember just when I've heard that lovely song before. Okay, that's the bottom rung of the ladder. Let's go
Mic
up.
drop. Woohoo!
It is not the bottom rung of the ladder. There's so much in there. That's so great. I love it. You even did a fall off. You might not, I'm trying to, I should have written it down because I always forget. Well, that melody. So I would just start like, who are you talking to? It seems. Who are you talking to, Eric? So what the song is about, I've heard this song before. It's from an old familiar score. I know it well.
Musical Memory 101.
Right. So what if you're talking to somebody who's you're kind of, let's pretend that you're in a nice restaurant. One of those kinds that have some banquettes, you know those things that are kind of private. And it's really kind of loud, but you don't want to shout, "Hey, it seems to me." So what if you're talking in someone's ear? They're like right here. It seems to me I've heard that song before. Because the mic's going to let all the voice come through. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So like try it like it seems like you're like you're thinking about it like it seems I've heard that song before. Can you just sing that like that? It seems break. I heard that song before. Try to remember it. Can you do that?
It seems to me I've heard that song before. The lyrics said, forevermore. Forevermore's just a memory.
Yeah. Does that feel any different?
Yes, it did. I mixed up a couple of verses.
So it doesn't matter. It's jazz, whatever. It's okay. I was like in it because you're like, it seems.
Y'all heard the difference in that?
Yes.
Yeah, as opposed to it seems to me I've heard that. That's not what you did. I'm just doing how I sang it on a cruise ship one time like that. I've heard that song before. It's from, and so now it seems to me I've heard that song before. It's from an old familiar score. It's much more like you would speak in real life. That was lovely. And so the voice was a little less engaged, but you have a microphone, so you don't need it engaged like that. That's beautiful. That was lovely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for singing. That's great.
Anybody else want to try?
Almost as if I was sitting with the person sitting across the table from me.
Right. That's good to think. You want to keep it intimate. You know, like a song like that, I think having that, and then that'll play in the mic, and the band, like the piano, bass, and drums, like shh, 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 da, da, da. It's sexy. Yeah.
Thank you. Can I pass the microphone to Charlotte? Charlotte, can I put you on the spot, please?
Oh, Charlotte.
Only because you said earlier in this episode that you've been doing jazz for many years.
Yeah.
Anything?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I didn't really have anything prepared.
It's called improvisation.
Right.
It is called improvisation. I have my real book, but I'll try and find something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
No pressure.
Maybe I should pass it along to someone else who's more prepared.
You were working on, you've done Black Coffee, you've done My Funny Valentine, you've done Fever.
Yeah, maybe My Funny Valentine, just because I don't need music for that one.
Sure.
I think.
My Funny Valentine's an excellent choice. Oh, my student's going to national. Yay.
Hey,
Congratulations.
High school music theater, great. So I think My Funny Valentine's a really good one, and that's one that you can really work on the same types of things when Miss Eden is playing your chords for you in My Funny Valentine to backphrase, just like we do with romance.
Got it.
Yeah. You want to try a little bit?
Okay.
Just a little bit, like 8 or 16 bars or something. You do the whole thing.
Okay. My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart Your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art.
Okay, so clearly she's already got a really good handle on this. So that's great. So the only thing, I mean, you could get on the bandstand and sing that right now and people would go, oh,
Thank you.
that would be great. But if you wanted to play with it a little bit, you could say, let's see, my funny Valentine. How do you want to do sweet, comic? I don't know. Maybe just like the way you did, or in the moment, it could change depending on how you're, you make me smile with my heart. You might could lay back on some of those, you know, you make me smile with my heart, you know. And then I was thinking, your looks are laughable, unphotographable. I would backphrase that so you don't get to unphotographable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that is like, we're splitting hairs here. I mean, we're talking about like minutia here, but that's just one little thing, you know. If it was like, your lips are laughable, chord, unphotographable, you could backphrase, and then, yet you're my favorite work of art, depending on how you want to, if you're going to delay that feeling, or you just want to say, you're my favorite work of art, it's all good. And it might change from gig to gig, depending on how you're feeling that day. But man, that's great. But I think it's nice sometimes to phrase things in a ballad so you don't have to feel like you linger on consonants, although that might be a choice as well. So it's really, it's totally up to you, but that's lovely. Yeah, it's very speech-like, and you're leaving lots of space, and people can, that gives instrumentalists a chance to play something. My funny Valentine, you know, you get them time to noodle. They can't noodle necessarily if you're holding everything out. So let it breathe and give them a chance to noodle, and it makes it a much more beautiful arrangement. And listen to, oh my gosh. Okay, I never liked that song, never. And then Chet Baker, Live in Tokyo. It is on YouTube. That is the best.
Live in Tokyo.
The best rendition of that song. He sings it and he's so vulnerable, and they play and then they get into this double time feel. It goes on for like 8 or 9 minutes. I'm going, I hated this song and now he made me love it. It's really good. You got to listen to it. It's like 8 or 9 minutes. It's so good. Oh, okay, enough of that. That's great.
I will.
Okay.
Carla, you can choose somebody.
All right.
Passing the
Karen.
torch.
Karen.
Oh no.
I'm gonna mute myself now.
In fact, I have to hit the road.
Oh no.
Not tonight. Sorry.
But she had wine, so that's good.
I had wine.
She had wine.
Yeah.
All right. She's an audience tonight. All right.
All right.
So Charlotte, you can choose somebody else.
Kaylin.
I technically also had wine, but that's fine. I don't know what you just said. Eden, you're muted.
Well, we always used to say on the cruise ship, it's like, everybody have a cocktail, because the more you drink, the better we sound.
That's true.
True.
Yeah, Kaylin, would you do a little something?
Sure. I don't know. I mean,
You can do the boy from.
True, that's Abasa. So, yeah, okay. I have the music too. I like having the music. I don't love singing a cappella. All right. Sorry, Eden, it's your voice.
The thumbs down was me. No, I don't like to sing a cappella either. Ugh.
Yeah.
And Apollo, he goes walking by, and I have to follow him. The boy from Tacaremba, La Tomo de Fuego, Santa Malipa, Zacatecas, La Junta Soli Cruz. When we meet, I feel I'm on fire and I'm breathless every time I inquire. How are things in Tacaramba, La Tomo de Fuego, Santa Malipa, Zacatecas, La Junta del Sol y Cruz? Why, when I speak, does he vanish? Oh, why is he acting so clammish? Oh, I wish I understood Spanish. When I tell him I think he's the end, he giggles a lot with his friend. We'll cut it there because the music's dead, because I wasn't paying attention.
No, great. I've done that song. I did that in Side by Side by Sondheim. I did it in Recital not too long ago. So that's really great. And that's really a bossa nova feel for sure. I don't think I would throw that in the jazz pile. It has a jazz feel. It's jazzy. But it's a parody on the bossa nova Girl from Ipanema or Boy from Ipanema. So I do think the way you're singing that in the style of a theater piece is more appropriate because it is a theater piece. Right. And you couldn't like go to a jazz jam and call that piece like nobody's heard of that song. But people that know theater and that know jazz, like that's a hoot. That's how I ended my recital. So I totally love that you're doing that. What I think might be fun for you is to do the Girl from Ipanema. It's the same, and then you can appreciate the humor. And Ella's changed the lyrics and she says, tall and, now you got me singing that. I can't think of the song. Seriously, now I cannot think of the Girl from Ipanema because I only got the Sondheim in my head. Oh my gosh, but yeah.
Yeah.
The boy from Ipanema goes walking in. When he passes, each girl he passes goes, ah. When he walks, it's like a samba that swings so cool and sways so gentle. So you should do both. You should do a musical theater version. And so one of the things I'm giving some of my students is I'm saying, like I gave somebody Hello Young Lovers. I said, you're going to sing it like Anna does in The King and I, and then we're going to do like a jazz waltz with it. So you have to change your registration in the key. Hello, young lovers, and then she's gonna go, hello, young lovers, whoever you are. So we're gonna do experiment back to back. So that would be a fun back to back assignment for you to do both of those songs and kind of compare and contrast. And then that'd be fun. You're doing that great, but it's definitely that bossa nova feel for sure.
Yeah. To be fair, I had in part got taken it for a musical theater audition, so that's.
Oh, sure. No, there's nothing. That's a great song. I love Sondheim, and that's like I said, I ended my recital with that.
Yeah,
I love it. It's hilarious.
I also really love doing comedy pieces. So the other one that I've been trying to, I think I've got it down now because I had to slow it down a lot first, was Twisted by Annie Ross.
Oh, right. And that's a really old bebop. See, that's a fun thing. There's a blues. There's a blues out there. It's got a bridge on it. I'm going to give you my secret weapon if you want to sing a blues. It's called My Man's an Undertaker. And it's blues, but it's got a bridge and it's really funny and you might enjoy that. You better not knock on my door tonight. You better keep your mouth shut good and tight because my man's an undertaker. He's got a coffin just your size. You better not brag about the times we had. She's basically, we're done and I got a new man who's going to take you out if you like give me any. But there's a bridge to it, so it's not a 12-bar blues because there's actually a bridge, but it's a blues with a bridge. If you
Washington,
I'm gonna find that because that's my favorite kind of song to sing. Is like something that has some kind of like comedic twist in it.
Me too. I love singing super sad or super funny. Those are the things I like to do. So, for sure, awesome. Yes, Eric's leaving.
No, I'm not leaving. I'm in celebration. Who was it that was the artist on that? My Man is the Undertaker.
Well, the one that I think, Catherine Russell actually is her name, and with a C, Catherine Russell is the version I heard. I had to learn it for a class. I did not know of that recording, and when I found it, I was like, oh, that's hilarious. But you can find a lot of fun blues. One I'm working now is called Wild Women Don't Get the Blues. You know, I'm not much of a blues singer. I don't have that kind of hefty, growly, warm kind of sound. But Cecile McLaurin-Salvant, again, is, as a singer who I've referenced a lot tonight, but she manages to have a lighter sound and she pulls them off with some humor. So I think anybody can do the blues. I think you just have to know your kind of type, and are you gonna like, oh, I've lived a lot, or no, I'm more of the like soprano-y. I'm talking about, you know, that sucks, or whatever. But and yeah, anybody can do it. You just have to find it and fit it. You know, you just have to fit it to you. You got to tailor it to yourself. Yeah.
What, choose somebody, Kaylin? Choose somebody.
Oh, I have to choose somebody now?
Yeah.
Let's see. I think it's just Kathy and Dan left. Either of you want to just volunteer? Because I feel bad throwing you guys out there.
You're not throwing. Y'all, I came from a classical background. The first time I was in a workshop and they said, let's improvise, I put my head down and I was like, oh my God, I hope the verse follows me up right now. I hate my life. I felt my start get as red as this. I was like, I hate this. I hate this. And I understand what it feels like. I did nothing but classical music for 9 years and I could nail anything on the page. And the hardest thing for me has been trying to go, okay, it doesn't matter. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to squawk.
They've all sung for each other on stage and off stage.
I love it.
I am the safest person you could sing for. I've already been there and I will never, ever allow myself to forget how horrible. I mean, like, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. Okay.
All right. Well, so am I unmuted? I am. Okay. So when you sang Honeysuckle Rose, it made me think of something I did way back in like 1980. And now I just forgot it. Okay. Miss the Saturday Dance. So I'll start from, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease, but nevertheless, why stir up memories, been invited on dates, might have gone, but what for? Awfully different without you, don't get around much anymore.
Yes, Raise the Roof. That is awesome. That's awesome. I love that. I love Duke Ellington. Darling, I guess. So, do you sing any country music?
I do.
Okay. No, I was going to say like, you sound really good. I love it. I think, just as a matter of like, just a little finessing, some of the scoops that are so, darling, I like Patsy Cline myself. I've never like her. I wish I could. So a little bit smaller scoop might be a little bit more style appropriate, you know, but I like it. And I think a couple of those phrases, I heard a fall off. See, you guys do it already. But I think maybe you could do, darling, I guess. I fell off there. I don't think, because it's like, I guess. Because we don't go, you know, do you want to come to my house? I guess. You know, like, do you want to come to my house?
Yeah.
I guess. Darling, I guess. My mind's more at ease. Yeah, sure. But nevertheless, why stir up memories? Been in fight. And then you did some like kind of laying back there. That was really, really nice. I like that. But I would just say maybe the scooping could be a little less.
Less.
Out the ends of the phrases a little less, or find not all of them. But you're definitely totally on the right track. And that is a great song. Love Duke Ellington.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That was, and you know what? You should, with that, you've got kind of a low speaking voice. You should go back and listen to, would you do naughty songs?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because you should go back and look at some of those. Like, I have a friend of mine, you remind me of her, and she makes a living just singing blues, and she does jazz blues and just blues. You should really go back and look at some of those like Bessie Smith and Ma Rainey songs. They're full of double entendre. You go, oh, okay. but like that would be kind of fun. You know, some of them.
That would be, okay.
I just like, they're great training grounds. And again, Cecile McLaurin saw Vaughan has done, but Ma Rainey, I think there's one recording of Bessie Smith. No, I can't say the lyrics here. I think we have people that are too, but, like, you get the idea when you see them.
Okay, I'll look
But
them
they're,
up.
but they're fun. They're kind of double entendre. So a little kid's probably not going to get it, but an adult
Gotcha.
would be like, okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dan, want to say something?
Let me write her down.
I could do some of maybe. How about that's all? I use
Sure.
something I my heart, so I can.
Yeah. Okay.
Am I loud enough? You hear me? Okay. I can only give you love that lasts forever, and a promise to be near each time you call. And the only heart I own for you and you alone. That's all. That's all. There are those, I am sure, who have told you they would give you the world for a song. All I have are these arms to enfold you, and a love time could never destroy. If you're wondering what I'm asking in return, dear, you'll be glad to know that my demands are small. Say it's me that you'll adore, for now and evermore, that's all. That's all.
I love that song. That's one of my favorite songs. I often end my nights with that. I love it. It's great. And you're doing some really good phrasing with that already. You're breaking that up. So that's really nice. I would ask you to, the same thing the same little tip that I gave Eric, can it be more like you're talking to somebody and you're just trying to, it's less singing and more feeling like you're speaking. So, what can you give me? What can you give me? I can only give you love that lasts forever. Can you say, I can only give you love that lasts forever? Can you say that for me?
I can only give you love that lasts forever.
It doesn't need to be sung any more than that.
Okay. And a promise to be near each time you call.
See, it doesn't need, it's just that. It's not, I can only give you, again, I'm giving that more. That's not what you did, but you know, I can only give you, right? It's, I can only give you love that lasts forever. I can be breathy. I can be breathy in jazz a little bit because I have a microphone and a promise to be near each time you call. Just tell me the story. Just like you talked it. Now you're just going to talk it on pitch. Can you just do that little bit at the beginning? Like, I can only give you love that lasts forever. You're talking to your sweetheart.
I can only give you love that lasts forever.
Yes. Can you give me even less?
I can only give you love that lasts forever.
And what else?
And a promise to be near each time you call.
Oh, he's starting to give me a little Shirley Horn in there. I'm just saying, like, you can speak some things too. You don't have to sing everything. I can only give you love that lasts forever. That's awesome when things like that happen, you know? You can mix that up in there. It's just like speaking. That was nice. That's really, really nice. And then it starts maybe to feel scary because it feels vulnerable because all of a sudden you're being really honest and open and bare with your soul, but it's so much more rewarding. Yeah, anything goes. That's so nice. You're going to like do the Shirley Horn thing and make everybody like cry right there. Listen to Shirley Horn sing Here's the Life and come back into me and like, really. You know, that's great, Dan. That was awesome change. really nice. Do you feel any different with that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I've just been singing it. It's been one of my rehearsal tunes that I do every day and occasionally in my lessons with Eden. And as you were talking about improvising, I'm thinking it's when I know enough by heart that I can pick it up anywhere and know where the lines go. So I tried to talk it the first time, but you're right. I reverted to singing it because it was more comfortable.
Right. So it's kind of it's more speech like you're singing it, and a spoken word in there once in a while is fine, but you're singing it, but it feels more like you're talking it on pitch as opposed to ooh, you know what I mean? And it takes the pressure off. And if you want more volume, pull the microphone closer. It's and I recommend practicing your jazz tunes with a mic if you can, because it's when you practice this breathy singing, I can only get it doesn't sound like you're doing anything. So
he has a microphone in his office. His secretary is his audience and me.
Yeah, so you mean
It's separate.
practicing with the microphone is really crucial to getting the sound right. Yeah. Dan has to sing Shirley Horn. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's great.
All right, have we heard from everybody that wanted to do a little bit of singing tonight? This is the beginning. And thank you all for being willing to go with it. And Karen will get you in there next time. So, and by the way, have you seen Kara's yoga videos on Friday morning? She's been doing yoga in our private group. It's really fun. So I felt so much better after doing that with you. Like it lasted for like the next 48 hours.
Awesome.
It really helped a lot. Yeah, it was really great. So are there any more questions for Wendy? Nope.
I'm always around, so if you think of one later, you can ask Eden, and I'm happy to answer them, because as long as we're all having fun, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we can chat a little bit. Okay.